Welcome to the Cheating Wife Stories channel. Love. That's what she called it. Love. The word echoes in my head as I bury my face in her pillow, inhaling the faint trace of her shampoo. Lavender. I've never paid much attention to floral scents before, but now every breath feels like a jolt to the system, a final mocking reminder of what used to be mine, or at least what I thought was mine. The bed is cold on her side. The sheets barely disturbed. She hasn't slept here in 2 days. That single word, love, still hangs in the air, taunting me. Because it wasn't addressed to me. I remember how I first heard it. Her voice, hushed and urgent. From the laptop speakers, she must have forgotten to shut off the Zoom recording. I was in the hallway, about to knock on our study door. I'd never heard her voice like that before, so full of breathless wonder. A gentleness I thought she'd long forgotten. She whispered, "You're amazing in bed." And then, almost as an afterthought, love. She didn't say it to me. It tore a hole right through me, more precise than any bullet. I couldn't speak, couldn't even breathe. I pull away from her pillow. The air in our bedroom feels stale. Half-packed boxes line the walls. We were going to move into a bigger place eventually, or at least that's what we told everyone. Now those boxes look like tombstones of a life that never turned out the way we planned. I step away from the bed, my legs unsteady, and head downstairs. My mind is a swirling mess, images and sounds colliding. Her laughter from the other night, the way she brushed her hair behind her ear at dinner, and that photograph. God, that photograph in the family frame. Her arm wrapped around Dylan, both of them smiling like the world was brand new, like I was just a ghost in the background. The final gut punch was the DNA test. The kid I thought was mine wasn't. The truth, in black and white, sealed up in a manila envelope. I tuck it away in a drawer, a silent tomb for the proof of my own stupidity. Downstairs, the living room lamp flickers. A cheap bowl I kept forgetting to replace. The flicker dances across the walls, revealing the photos still hanging. There's one from our anniversary. Becky in a flowing dress, me in a suit. We look happy. Maybe I was. Or maybe I just taught myself to pretend so well that even my own memories are suspect. In the corner of the room, the big bookshelf stands half empty. She took half of her favorite novels, left the rest behind like a shrug. She never liked finishing things. Not even with me. I wonder if she'll come back tonight. Probably not. But I sit on the couch and wait anyway, my eyes drifting over to the clock every few minutes. Midnight. 1, 2 in the morning. I'm so used to it now. This is the new routine. To wait in silence, heart pounding with 1,000 regrets. Then, at some point, exhaustion claims me. I doze off in the same spot where we used to cuddle and watch old movies. Now there's only me, the hum of the refrigerator, and the faint smell of betrayal in the air. I used to love how she said my name. Tom, get over here, you big goof. She used to tease me, especially when we were dating, about my serious face. Said I looked like I had the weight of the entire world on my shoulders. Sometimes I think I really did. We got married young. I was naive enough to believe that was all you needed, love, or what I thought love was. The first time I suspected something was off, I found a text on her phone. A late-night message from Dylan, her personal trainer. "Miss you," it read. "Wish you were here." She told me he was just a friend, a motivator. She wanted to get in better shape, especially after having the baby. I believed her, because I wanted to. Trusting her was easier than imagining a future where she was sleeping with another man. One afternoon, I came home early from work. She didn't expect me until later. I walked into our bedroom to find the sheets rumpled in a way I couldn't explain. A strange scent of musk and sweat lingered. She was in the bathroom, the door locked, the water running. I stood there, listening to the shower, my mind racing. A car engine outside roared away. Through a gap in the curtains, I saw Dylan's black SUV pulling out, tires squealing. When she emerged, wrapped in a towel, her hair still damp, she froze. Our eyes locked, and for a moment, I saw guilt flicker across her face. Then it was gone. "Hey," she said. "You're early." She tried to smile, but it came out stilted. I asked if Dylan had been here, and she lied with the practiced ease of someone who's done it 1,000 times. "No, just me," she said. "He canceled our session last minute." I wanted to believe her, or maybe I needed to believe her because admitting otherwise would mean our entire life was a farce. So I nodded, swallowed the panic, and told myself I was imagining things. But a nauseating certainty had lodged itself deep in my gut. In the weeks that followed, I started paying more attention to her phone calls, to her social media posts, to the subtle changes in her routine. She'd leave earlier for work or stay out later, claiming client meetings or girls' nights. Over dinner, she'd barely speak to me. When she did, her words carried an edge, like she was performing politeness. My suspicion grew, but I kept quiet. Confronting it felt like stepping off a cliff into a bottomless pit. Then came the day of the Zoom call. I thought she was upstairs designing a client's website, so I tiptoed to the study to ask if she needed dinner. That's when I heard it. "You're amazing in bed," she said, her voice hushed but trembling with excitement. And then that single, final word. Love. I backed away, choking on my breath. My knees buckled. The rest of the evening is a haze of swirling anger and heartbreak. It felt like 1,000 knives twisting under my ribcage, each labeled with a memory of our life together. I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I wasn't ready to see the contempt in her eyes. Instead, I started searching for hard evidence, as if I were building a court case. They say once you go looking, you always find something. I found plenty. Hotel receipts, suspicious credit card charges, emails. I discovered the paternity test in the process. I had noticed how the baby's features didn't quite match mine. The test results confirmed it. The child was Dylan's, not mine. That final blow shattered everything inside me. Instead of raging or smashing furniture, I sat in the bedroom and stared at the test results for hours, numb. A deep, cold emptiness settled inside my chest. Our fights after that were mostly silent. She'd come home late, slip into bed without a word, or sometimes she wouldn't come home at all. I'd wake up the next morning alone, the sheets on her side still neat, and then go about my day as if living in a dream. We performed civility in front of friends, family, even her parents when they visited. It was a grotesque masquerade of small talk and forced smiles. One day, I placed the damning photograph of her and Dylan into the family frame on the living room mantel. We'd taken out the old family portrait to pack it up for moving, or so I told her. She saw it, I'm sure. She glanced at it once, froze for the briefest second, and then carried on as if it didn't exist. Her indifference cut deeper than any confession. It was as if she was daring me to call her out. But I didn't. I just observed her every move with silent fury. The tension coiled like a spring in my gut. I'd wake up around midnight sometimes, hearing the creak of the floorboards. She'd pace in the hallway, pause at the nursery door, then vanish to rummage through the fridge or sit on the porch. If I strained my ears, I could sometimes hear her on the phone, whispering. But no tears, no arguments, just quiet steps and hollow eyes. Watching her roam the house we once dreamed of filling with warmth was surreal. The illusions of a happy home were unraveling, one splinter at a time. Our child. God, it hurts even to think about that now. I loved him more than my own life. The moment I held him in my arms, I believed I'd found my reason to exist. So to learn he wasn't mine by blood felt like an avalanche burying me. Yet I couldn't stop loving him. He was innocent in all this. He'd stay with Becky's mother sometimes, especially on days she needed space. I never got to say goodbye properly. Maybe she thought it best to keep me from him, so I wouldn't complicate matters. She was too cowardly to speak the truth to me face to face. It was a week after the Zoom incident when I first confronted Becky in a halfway manner. She was in the kitchen, rummaging through a cabinet for a coffee mug. The overhead light revealed her eyes were puffy from crying. though she refused to look at me directly. I cleared my throat. "We need to talk," I said. She set the mug on the counter with a soft clink. "About?" My voice cracked. I forced out the words. "You and Dylan." She stood motionless, her back to me. "Tom, can we not do this now?" "Then when?" My voice came out harsher than intended. I think part of me wanted her to lash out, to scream, to do anything so I could unleash the storm roiling inside me. "When is the right time to talk about your lover? When is the right time to admit the truth?" She turned around, a resigned look on her face. "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing him. I'm not going to lie to you anymore." My chest tightened. Hearing her say it out loud was worse than I'd imagined. "So that's it? That's all you have to say?" She shrugged, as if we were discussing a minor inconvenience. "What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? That I didn't mean to hurt you?" "I don't know how to say that without lying again." Her voice was so indifferent that it felt like a punch to the throat. "Do you love him?" I asked. The question burned my tongue. She paused. I watched her carefully, hoping to see some flicker of regret, or maybe confusion. Instead, her eyes turned distant. I can't do this, Tom. Not right now." Then she snatched her mug and walked out of the kitchen. I stood there, fists clenched, until the coffee machine beeped behind me. I stared at it numbly, feeling something inside me snap, and then snapped again. But I said nothing. Dylan. Sometimes I pictured him in my house, touching my wife, sleeping in my bed. I wondered if he ever felt guilty. Probably not. He had that confident, easygoing swagger that I lacked. They met at the gym, shared jokes. He offered personal training sessions. One thing led to another, or so I imagined. Maybe she needed something more than I could give. The thought gnawed at me, keeping me awake for countless nights. Was I too boring, too predictable? Did my receding hairline and modest income not measure up to his athletic frame and easy charm? But the biggest question that haunted me was, how did I miss it for so long? The signs were everywhere. Nights she spent working on design projects, but never showed me the results. The new lingerie she bought but never wore around me. The locked phone. The password changed to something I didn't know. Yet I buried my head in the sand, hoping love, our old comfortable love, could still see us through. The day everything unraveled started like any other. I woke up alone, found her note on the kitchen table, went out. Don't wait up. I went to work at the logistics company, forced a smile with my team. Signed off on shipments, delegated tasks. My boss joked about the old ball and chain, not knowing how close I was to either breaking down or punching a wall. At lunchtime, I drove home in a hurry, hoping maybe she'd be there. I'm not sure what I wanted from her. An apology, a confrontation, or something to spark clarity. But she wasn't home. Instead, I found a half-finished cup of tea on the counter and an overturned frame on the living room table. The same frame that held the picture of her and Dylan. She must have flipped it down before leaving. I stared at it with a bitter smile twisting my lips. So she finally noticed. I called her phone, and it went straight to voicemail. No text, no heads up about her schedule. Dread coiled in my stomach. Maybe she was with him again. The idea that they were off somewhere, laughing in a hotel room, devouring each other's warmth, made my chest burn. I tried not to picture it, but it was impossible. My imagination, fueled by jealousy and heartbreak, played the scene out in vivid detail. Her hair tousled, her lips parted, the same breathy moans she used to make with me, now meant for someone else. I downed a glass of water and slammed it onto the counter, the impact jarring my bones. My breath came fast, ragged. I needed air, so I headed outside, only to find the driveway empty. She'd taken the family SUV, the one we bought when we thought we'd need more space for a growing family. My jaw clenched. Everything about our life had become a cruel joke. I spent the rest of the day pacing between the couch, the door, and the bedroom. As night fell, The house grew dark and quiet. My heart pounded every time headlights swept across the living room window, but each time it was just a neighbor or a passing car, never her. Midnight crawled into 1, then 2. By 3, I drifted into a fitful sleep, haunted by images of Becky and Dylan locked in a heated embrace. My head pounded with the memory of her voice. "You're amazing in bed. Love." I woke up cold, stiff, and alone. Morning lights stabbed through the curtains. She still hadn't come home. I checked my phone. No calls, no messages. A hollow pit opened in my chest. This time, the numbness felt sharper, if that makes any sense. It was like I was coming to terms with the fact that she was gone, truly gone. I thought I'd explode, or at least break down sobbing. Instead, I just stood there, as though everything inside me had turned to stone. I fumbled through the day like a sleepwalker. Work was a blur. My coworkers asked if I was okay. I waved them off with vague excuses. On the drive home, I stopped by an old roadside diner, the one Becky and I used to frequent back in our happier days. For some reason, I thought maybe she'd be there, as if she traveled back in time to find that spark we lost. But it was just an empty fantasy. The diner was filled with strangers, none of whom even looked remotely like her. I trudged back to the house. I half expected to see her car in the driveway, but it was empty. The house loomed silent and still. Once inside, I walked through each room, flipping on lights. They cast long, accusing shadows on the walls. I paused at the nursery door. The baby's stuffed animal stared at me with glassy eyes from the crib. We'd painted the walls pale blue when we thought we'd share a future together here. Now the place felt like a tomb. A few days passed, each one bleeding into the next. Becky didn't return. The only sign of life was a single text from her, "Staying at my mom's for a while. Don't worry. I'll come by for my stuff." The calm detachment in her message stunned me. She had no apology, no explanation. Just an abrupt statement that left me reeling. When I arrived home the following evening, I found her in the living room. She was methodically packing up her belongings, clothes, photo albums, files, all the little odds and ends that made up her life with me. At first, I just stood there, silent, watching her. She moved with mechanical efficiency, ignoring me like I was a ghost. Finally, I couldn't take it any longer. "That's it then?" I asked, my voice low and shaking. She paused, a box of framed photos in her arms. "I'm sorry it came to this." She wouldn't look at me. I stepped closer, my chest constricting. "So, what? You're leaving? For him?" She set the box down. "It's not about him, Tom. Isn't it?" I spat out. "Everything changed the moment you let him into your life." She finally met my gaze. There was sorrow in her eyes, maybe even shame, but mostly exhaustion. "We changed long before that. You just didn't want to see it." I swallowed hard. "What about the baby?" "Our child." My voice caught. "No, not mine, I guess." Her eyes clouded. "Don't. Please." I wanted to scream at her, to say how she betrayed everything we ever had. But the words wouldn't come. A wave of anguish crashed over me, leaving me trembling. She went back to packing, tears glistening on her cheeks. I stood there, fists clenched, unable to decide if I wanted to comfort her or throw her out. Minutes stretched into hours. Finally, she finished gathering what she wanted. She left the rest, which felt like another slap in the face, like she was discarding all the memories that didn't matter. My heart hammered as she walked past me toward the door. She turned back, just for a second. "I'll call you about the house." Then she was gone, the door clicking shut. I listened to her footsteps down the porch, the car door opening, the engine starting. Every second hammered into my chest, like a nail sealing a coffin. And then there was silence. That's the moment a strange calm settled over me, a numb clarity. All the illusions shattered, leaving me with a raw honesty. She was never coming back, and I wasn't going to chase her. For the first time, I felt a small flicker of Not hope, but a kind of grim acceptance. Revenge is not a reckoning, they say. It's a liberation. I never truly understood that until now. I grabbed the photograph from the mantel, her and Dylan, arms around each other, wearing those dazzling smiles. My hand shook, but I set it on the coffee table. Instead of smashing it, I sat down and stared at it, letting the waves of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak wash over me. Each wave receded a little more quickly than the last. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Then I found myself speaking out loud, my voice quiet yet resolute. "You can have her, Dylan. You can have all of this." I tapped the picture with a trembling finger. "But you can't take what you never understood." I expected to feel empty, but something else happened. A tiny spark of relief, maybe even a sliver of peace. She was gone, and I was still standing. I walked around the house that night, turning off lights and closing boxes. The bed upstairs felt less like a battlefield, and more like just a piece of furniture. I changed the sheets, dumping the old ones in a trash bag, as if I were cleansing the room of every memory of them together. Time has a strange way of stretching and compressing after a trauma like this. The days that followed blurred into a mix of packing up her forgotten belongings, fielding sympathetic calls from my parents, ignoring worried texts from my coworkers. I didn't tell anyone the details. Let them think we drifted apart. The truth was too painful and too humiliating to share. Eventually, Becky's lawyer contacted me about the property, the finances. It was a messy affair that took months to settle. She wanted a quick sale, said she needed money to move on. I complied, though every signature felt like signing away another piece of my life. Each time I penned my name, I thought about how we'd once laughed about growing old here, hosting barbecues for the neighbors, decorating the nursery. Memories, now worthless in the face of reality. One afternoon, while rummaging through old boxes in the attic, I found a stack of letters and photos from our early years. Ticket stubs from baseball games, restaurant receipts with silly little hearts drawn by her. I held them in my hands, a lump in my throat. For a fleeting moment, I wanted to preserve them, hold on to that version of Becky, the one who used to smile just for me. But the moment passed quickly. I set them aside, deciding to toss them out or burn them. I wasn't sure which yet, but I knew I couldn't keep them. My revenge, if you can call it that, happened quietly. It wasn't some grand confrontation with Dylan. I didn't track him down and punch him in the face, though a part of me fantasized about it late at night. Instead, I let everything go, her, the illusions, the child that was never mine. I allowed them all to slip through my fingers. Maybe it was cowardly, or maybe it was the only way to survive. I understood that no amount of violence or rage would fill the hollow ache inside me. If I was going to free myself, I needed to walk away from it, not chase retribution. I did, however, contact an old friend of mine who worked in the fitness center's corporate office. I told him everything. My friend listened, cursed under his breath, and I heard the moral outrage in his voice. He said Dylan's conduct was a breach of the gym's professional code, seducing a client. There would be consequences, possibly termination, or at least a blot on his record. I said I didn't need to know the outcome. I just wanted it on record that he'd wrecked a marriage under the pretense of professional training. In my mind, that was enough. He'd face the music eventually, whether it was immediate or down the line. That was my small act of vengeance, but it didn't thrill me or bring me satisfaction. It felt more like tying off a loose end. When I hung up the phone, I found no triumph in it, only a bittersweet sense of closure. Sometimes, late at night, I still recall Becky's laughter, bright and youthful, echoing off these walls. I wonder if Dylan makes her laugh like that now, if she's found the spark she thought she'd lost with me. In the quiet moments, the memory stings, but the pain is no longer overwhelming. It's just a dull ache, a reminder that once I loved and was loved. Or so I believed. That might be enough for me. At least I tell myself it is. My days revolve around forging a new routine. I still work at the logistics company, but I'm thinking of applying for a management role in another state. Maybe a fresh start would do me good. I've taken up reading again, something I gave up in the hectic swirl of marriage and fatherhood. Real fatherhood was never mine, I guess, though a part of me will always grieve the boy I rocked to sleep in my arms. He's with Becky now, or maybe with Dylan. I don't ask, and they don't tell. I also started jogging in the mornings. The first few runs were brutal. I gasped for air, my chest aching more from heartbreak than exertion. But little by little, I've gotten stronger. There's a raw cleansing in physical exertion, the burn in my muscles echoing the emotional burn I'm trying to purge. It's been 6 months since she left. The house is sold, the box is packed. I'm staying in a small apartment now, a short commute from work. The walls are plain, no pictures or mementos, just the basics. A couch, a bed, a kitchen table. Simplicity feels like a balm. A month from now, I plan to move to Denver, or maybe somewhere else entirely. The details aren't settled, but the idea of being far from here, far from the memories, feels necessary. One evening, as I'm sorting through the last of my paperwork, I find the DNA test results again. I'd tucked them in a drawer, almost forgot about them. My hands tremble slightly as I hold the sheet of paper with the big bold letters. Probability of paternity, 0%. For a moment, the old hurt tries to flare up, but I'm too tired for that. I refold it and slip it into the shredder. The machine whirs, chewing up the paper until it's gone. A clean break. I stare at the shredder for a while, listening to the hum die down. There's a finality in that sound. I feel a release, like a heavy chain falling off my shoulders. Maybe that's what real revenge looks like. Learning to let go, learning to stand back up despite the wreckage. Because if I cling to the bitterness, if I let the anger define me, then Dylan and Becky still own a piece of my soul. I won't give them that satisfaction. That night, I have a dream. I'm standing in a field behind the house I grew up in. Tall grass swaying in the wind. Becky appears, wearing a white sundress, her hair blowing softly around her shoulders. She looks young, like when we first met at college. Dylan stands behind her, his face shadowed by the sun, but I can sense his presence. They both look at me. Then, slowly, they turn around and walk away, hand in hand, dissolving into the golden light. I try to run after them, to yell, but no sound comes out. My feet won't move. Then I wake up. I'm alone in my dark apartment, drenched in sweat. But this time, I don't feel the sharp sting of panic. It's just a dream, nothing more. The clock reads 3:15 a.m. I wipe my face and sit up, catching my breath. Outside, traffic hums in the distance. Life goes on. I close my eyes again, letting the tension drain from my body. And for the first time in a long while, I feel a strange sense of possibility. Not happiness, not joy, just the knowledge that tomorrow isn't decided yet. The final day in that empty house arrives. I walk through each room, doing one last check. My footsteps echo on the hardwood floor. The walls are bare, the furniture gone, the curtains open to let in the late afternoon sun. There's a trace of Becky's perfume in the hallway closet, a half-used bottle she left behind. I catch a whiff of it, close my eyes, and remember how she dabbed it on her wrists, how I once found that scent so inviting. An echo of her laughter flutters through my mind, but it's only my imagination. I place the bottle on the top shelf. The new owners will probably toss it out. A final goodbye. I head to what used to be the nursery. The baby's name was stenciled on the wall, in bright letters. Becky had carefully removed them when we decided to sell, leaving faint patches of adhesive. Now, it's just a plain wall with an outline of where the crib used to be. I trace my fingers over the spot, remembering how I once stood there in the middle of the night, rocking him back to sleep. I can almost feel the weight of him in my arms, his little heartbeat drumming against my chest. But that memory belongs to another life. I force myself to leave, closing the door behind me. No illusions remain here. In the end, I don't say goodbye to Becky, not in person. I text her, "House is empty. Closing is next week. Wish you well." Then I switch off my phone. I'm not interested in her response. Maybe she'll read it, maybe she won't. Either way, I'm done waiting for her approval or her remorse. I load the last box into my car and take one final look at the house. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the yard. The ghost of our hopes lingers in the air. But I don't linger. I get in the driver's seat, turn the key, and pull out of the driveway without looking back. My heart is racing, a mix of fear and relief, but my grip on the steering wheel is steady. This is my choice. As the house disappears in the rearview mirror, I feel a surge of raw emotion. My eyes burn with tears I won't let fall. My voice catches in my throat as I whisper, "I'm free." And I realize that's the only revenge I need. The chance to live on my own terms, without the weight of deceit pulling me under. Time passes. I find a modest apartment in Denver, a new position at a different branch of the logistics company. It's not glamorous, but it's a start. The crisp mountain air revitalizes me. On weekends, I explore hiking trails, letting the vast landscapes remind me how small my problems are compared to the world's immensity. One evening, I'm sitting on my tiny balcony, gazing at the city lights below, a glass of whiskey in my hand. My phone vibrates. I glance down to see an unknown number. For a moment, I consider ignoring it. Curiosity wins out. I answer. It's Dylan. His voice is cautious, almost subdued. "Hey Tom, I got your number from, well, I had to dig around. Hope you don't mind." My pulse quickens. "Why are you calling me?" He exhales, and I can hear the tension crackling through the line. I wanted to apologize. For everything. I know it doesn't fix what happened, but I'm sorry. I say nothing at first, letting him stew in the silence. Then, surprisingly, I feel no rage. Just an odd sense of pity. "I appreciate you saying that. I manage." My voice comes out steady, surprising even me. Becky left me too," he blurts out. "Said she wasn't ready for this. Everything. I don't know, man." His words tumble out, raw and confused. "I guess I thought we had something special. But she's gone." A bitter smirk twists my lips. I'm not shocked. Becky's pattern of restlessness, her difficulty facing truths, she probably repeated it with him. He's learning that her brand of love comes at a high price. "You'll be okay," I say, surprising myself again with the calm in my voice. "We all will. Eventually." He's silent a moment, as if searching for words. "I guess. Thanks." I hang up without saying goodbye. For a few minutes, I just sit there, the phone in my hand, the city lights reflecting off the screen. Strangely enough, I feel lighter. Maybe it's closure, or maybe it's just that life has a twisted sense of humor. But the realization is clear. I'm no longer bound to their story. I've escaped the orbit of their drama. Months slip by. I don't hear from Becky, and I don't try to contact her. My routine becomes more settled. I focus on my job, build new friendships, even go out with a few women from the office, casual coffee dates that don't lead anywhere serious yet. But that's okay. I'm not looking for forever. I'm still learning how to trust in small ways, how to open up without fear of betrayal. My nights aren't haunted by the old ghosts as much anymore. I can slip into bed without replaying those dreadful memories of her with him. The humiliations, the unanswered questions, the illusions, they fade a little more each day, replaced by cautious optimism. I've discovered that heartbreak can carve out a new space inside you. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can fill it with something better than before. One evening, I find myself standing on a scenic overlook, the city spread below like a glittering tapestry of lights. The wind is brisk, carrying the scent of pine and distant snow. I close my eyes and breathe in, letting the chill fill my lungs. I think of the man I was a year ago, quiet, unsure, desperate for love and validation. The man who sniffed his wife's pillow to catch a trace of her fading presence. That man is still inside me, but he's not in control anymore. A car passes behind me, its headlights casting my shadow against the guardrail. I catch a glimpse of my reflection on the car's shiny door, my hair a little more receded, a few extra lines around my eyes, but also a determined set to my jaw. I've earned those lines. Revenge is not a reckoning. It's a liberation, I murmur under my breath, remembering the phrase that's echoed in my mind all these months. It rings true now, more than ever. Because in letting go of the rage and heartbreak, I set myself free in ways I never imagined. I've reclaimed my name, my choices, my future. A distant rumble of thunder grumbles across the sky, hinting at a storm rolling in. I watch the flicker of lightning on the horizon. Part of me wonders if Becky is somewhere, seeing this same lightning. If she's thinking about me, about the life she threw away. But the thought passes quickly, replaced by a strange, welcome calm. I realize that this is the final chord in my symphony of heartbreak. The last note resonates, then fades. And I stand here, chest rising and falling with each breath, free at last. I turn from the overlook, hands in my pockets, and head back to my car. Rain starts falling in gentle taps against the windshield. I start the engine, glancing one last time at the city lights. Then I drive off into the storm, headlights cutting through the darkness, leaving the old shadows behind me once and for all.